Hi, good evening, everyone. I am here with our CUET UG batch. We are moving into CUET UG training because people who want to study English literature, we are doing the English domain only. People who want to study English literature must be trained right from the beginning. They should be given the right kind of direction from the beginning so that they will be able to reach their career goals easily and soon without struggling very much. We all know that humanities has an even more greater importance than before. Earlier, there was a time, maybe 10, 20 years ago, when we thought that sciences was everything. In IITs, only sciences were taught. But then the importance of humanities was also recognized. So in IITs and such top institutions, we have humanities departments, full-fledged humanities departments now. We know that many people write GATE exam to get into IITs, etc. And recently, the government introduced the Common University Entrance Test that is a CUET, to get admissions in the undergraduate program as well as the postgraduate program. So many people are now studying in big universities because of this exam, which is a wonderful thing. Because it was started recently, there is a little ambiguity about the CUET UG exam, but it is an exam that is primarily focused on language and also general affairs. We understand that there will be 3 sections. First section will be on language. There are a lot of questions related to language, such as direct and indirect speech, subject-verb agreement, conjunctions, tenses. That means the correct use of language. Obviously, for any education, you need to have a mastery over language, which I'm sure all the people who have, most of the people who have passed +2 these days would have, because of the internet and the social media and also the exposure that they get. So it should be easy for most of you to tide over this language challenge. At our Vallath, we will give you very thorough practice classes and also practice with relation to the grammar questions. Hello, Akshita and Laya. I'm just talking in general about the CUET UG exam. Those of you who have the desire to do an undergraduate course in universities, or those of you who are having relatives or friends who are in some, +2 course, and they are also desiring to join the undergraduate program, for all of them, this knowledge that we are now sharing would be beneficial. We also have a course at Vallath, which some people have joined. So language part of the exam also has reading comprehension, jumbled sentences, then identifying the right sentence pattern, spotting the errors, and questions like that will come. So this is a section where you need rigorous practice. You need to just use language more and more, do these questions more and more, and then you will be able to ace that part of the exam. Now, the exam also includes a general paper where you will get questions based on general knowledge, current affairs, mental ability, numerical ability, and so on and so forth. Logical and analytical reasoning will be there. Some general science will be there. Environmental literacy will be there. These are also not very tough if you get practice. If you do these questions, work out these questions, it should be easy. So we are ready to do that with you. And now there is the third part that was there previously, the domain subject. For us, it will be English. It is based on NCERT syllabus. That is what we understand. And it'll be great if we go through the history of English literature quickly so that you get to understand what are the developments, who are the major authors and works and things like that. And also go through the authors that were prescribed in the NCERT syllabus. In the language section, we had reading comprehension. So maybe in the literature section, if it is there, there won't be reading comprehension again. But we are not even sure if questions from the domain subject will be asked. That is the truth. For sure, you have language paper, that is English language, and general paper. There will be the focus, but we will give you a clear understanding about English literature also quickly, and what are the major authors and movements and what happened in English literature. Because when you study this subject for your undergraduate course, it will tremendously help you. Right. So what do you expect in reading comprehension? Let me go over that once again. There will be a passage given. And also there will be 3 types of passages, not just one. 3 types of passages will be given. One will be like you have to find out the facts in the passage. It will not be a literary passage. You have to identify the facts by quickly reading it. There are such questions asked in IELTS and such exams also. Another will be a narrative passage where you will be given a story or part of a narrative. It can be non-fiction, and you will be asked questions based on that. And then there will be literary passage. So why are the questions asked in this manner? To check whether you have the basic analytical skills, whether you're able to get information correctly from a piece of language, whether you will be able to communicate better, effectively, etc. You know that English language is for communication. We need to listen and understand from people. We need to read and understand. We need to communicate and talk to people. We need to negotiate. All these skills are language skills, and language is a very basic aspect of any education for that matter. Without the right grounding in language, your university education will not be complete. So that is why this language section is there, right? Here, you will also have to do match the following and rearranging the parts of a sentence to make it correct, questions like that also. Now, my task today, because you are people who are going to study English literature, is also to teach you about English literature quickly. You know that English literature is something that began in very olden times. You must have heard of the beginning of this modern age, which is called the Renaissance. You know, all the ideas before Renaissance were rather primitive, and modern man emerged during the Renaissance period. That is in the 15th and 16th centuries. You know that today we are living in the 21st century. So roughly 500, 600 years ago, Renaissance began in the West. And at this time, what is right? What is wrong? How should we live our lives? What is the meaning of justice? What is the meaning of beauty? How do we create beauty? Such basic questions were asked by human beings, by authors, by artists. And the relationship of man with nature, with religion, with the life around him, with other people, with culture, all these things became codified. It began to be written in texts. And thus, literature came into being, political science came into being, and all the natural sciences came into being. Then philosophy came into being in the West. Don't think philosophy came into being actually in all these things from the scratch they came into being in the Renaissance. No, it was already there in the Greek and Roman classical period. That was in the BCs, even before Jesus Christ. Right. In the BCs, in the Greek and Roman classical periods, that's a period, that is the name of a period in Greece and Rome. At that time, what happened? People began to raise the same questions. What do you mean by life? What is the meaning of justice? What is beauty? How should poetry be written? Should it be written at all? Why do we need it? Basic questions like that. Out of that emerged so many disciplines, including literature. Out of that emerged a worldview, which eventually made us what we are. All that we are today began from that period. So when you study literature, you study the history, the development, the evolution of all this. And when we do your general knowledge and mental ability and numerical ability and language, you're actually learning the form. How are you able to interpret or talk about something or read and understand something? Those are areas where you need the skill to understand literature, right? When you use language well, when you use your critical abilities well, then you are able to understand things, process things, communicate things. Whereas literature is about who we are, what is right and wrong, why do we live like this, right? All these things together come as part of a larger whole, like a circle it is. So literature is a domain, is a subject that is about a lot about imagination and the beautiful and softer aspects of human life, but it is also about society, politics, war, crime. That all these aspects are also there in literature. Literature is not only about romantic, ideal, beautiful things, but it is about the hardcore realities of life also. Renaissance in the 15th and 16th centuries gave rise to many approaches. Over 300, 400 years after that, there were so many debates about all this. There are so many debates that led to the writing of classics. A lot of writers wrote classics, novels and poetry, epics, then non-fiction also, prose also. What do you mean by a classic? A classic that is a text that has an enduring relevance. It has a long-lasting effect. If you read a classic at the time it is written, if you read a classic 100 years later, 400 years later, 600 years later, 1,000 years later, 1,000 years are also passed since some classics. Homer wrote in the BCs 2,000 years ago. These classics, whenever you read them, even if you're reading them after thousands of years, they still communicate to you. They still have a meaning for you. You still see something important there that touches you and your life. You see, that is what is called a classic. So it is in the Renaissance that a realization came that language is important, classics are important, we should learn from these classics. All these ideas became very important at that time, right? And people began to read a lot, translate a lot, imitate a lot. In the Renaissance period, they were imitating the great Greco-Roman masters. They began to write, copying the masters. Even the greatest writer of English literature who lived at that time, who is that? It is William Shakespeare. Even that greatest writer of English literature copied stories and styles from many other writers. Because in those days, copying was not a crime. Because by copying, you were, packaging a great knowledge that already existed into new forms so that it can be transmitted down the ages. You see, they did not believe in originality or self-expression as much as we do today. Today, it is very bad to copy. We need to be original because there are so many ways in which you can copy. by just copy pasting, you can copy. By just photocopying, you can copy, right? So because of the rise of technology, the concept of originality has changed. The concept of the human being has changed. A human being is no longer the person who is, um, in command of his ideology or his resources. A human being is not only the person who is, controlling the world around him. The human being today, we understand, as on the receiving end of power. At all times, power was there, but in different formats. Today, we understand that power is there in every discourse, in every discipline, in every subject, in every topic, in every text. There is a lot of power at work. And how does human being become subjected to power? How does human being, get created by power? How do our identities, get constructed by power relations? Such issues are very prominent today. From the Renaissance, over the ages, many, many things happened. Lots of classical writers, great writers, etc., came into being. There were many approaches in literature. It is so magnificent, to understand this story, to know how humanity evolved down the ages. Why is it magnificent? Because it has still something to do with us. You will think, okay, fine, I understand. We have studied all this in history and all that. I know, but is it really useful? Should I really study literature? Because even though in a very abstract and romantic sense, it is still touching us. Does it really give me a job? I will come to that. Now, down the ages, literature changed. Many great writers and texts came into being. And in the 19th century and early 20th century, what happened? In the 19th and 20th century, big transformations and changes happened. Because in the 19th century, something called Industrial Revolution happened. Industrial Revolution is the coming of technology, the coming of science and technology. It transformed lives. So in the 19th century, and at this time, why did industries happen? Because of colonialism. From the 16th century itself, that means 400 years from now, or a little more than that, at that time, colonialism began everywhere. There was the coming of the white masters. They were ruling over the African and Asian countries, right? Because of colonialism, the relations between the races became conflicted. Black people began to be suppressed and all that. And then a lot of raw materials came to be taken from African and Asian countries, and they got transformed into textiles. Textile industry happened first, and then they changed into machinery. Travel became easier, communication became easier, and then came the Industrial Revolution because of all this. The Industrial Revolution created the middle class. The capitalistic world that we see now began from there. Are you enjoying this story? Now, when Industrial Revolution happened, there also happened many problems. A lot of people were poor. They were deprived of their rights. They were exploited. And because of all this, there were also deep awarenesses about politics and how politics control us. There were trade unions. There were literary theories that came into being. So modernism, postmodernism, structuralism, post-structuralism, such ideas came into being. They are called literary theories. What are literary theories? Literary theories are knowledges. Literary theory is a system of knowledge that helps us to understand language, subjectivity, the world around us, right? Literary theory is connected to literary criticism. Literary theory and literary criticism are connected. What is literary criticism? Literary criticism is how we read a text. Literary criticism is about how we read a text. What are the methods in which we should read a text? And literary theory is about how a text is written, how a text connects with us, controls us, or defines us. That is literary theory. It is little different, but related. So many literary theories emerged in the 20th century that reflected the changes in the society. At this time, society had changed drastically. Society has, uh, got into a phase when there are so many diverse opinions, so many ways in which power is resisted. In India also, independence movement happened, isn't it? The feminism happened, resisting patriarchy. Then a lot of reform movements, resistance movements, civil rights movements, all these things happened in the 20th century. All the literary theories reflect these changes in the society. Clear, everybody? And then in the literature also, all these changes reflected. Literature changed completely in the 20th century. In the beginning of the 20th century, till the beginning of the 20th century, there was what we call realism. What do you mean by realism? Depicting society really exactly as it is, talking about the motive of people, why people act in certain ways. That is called realism. And that realism changed in the 20th century, giving way to non-realistic techniques. All of us are familiar with these techniques. Laya, Akshita, everybody here listening to me would know that we have a lot of anti-realistic, unrealistic techniques in literature and movies these days, isn't it? But before that, in realism, the painting or literary work or movie would all look like reality. This is exactly reality. It is not written by an author, but this is history. This really happened. Like that we would feel. That is called realism. Did you understand? And non-realistic techniques came with modernism and then later postmodernism. Most of the movies that we watch or books that we enjoy today are postmodern, where there is no chronological arrangement of incidents. There is breaking up of chronology. It looks like very fragmented. A story can be told from many perspectives, isn't it? There is a blurring of distinction between right and wrong. Is it right or wrong? There is ambiguity. We don't clearly understand. Such techniques that are used by writers are all postmodern techniques, and they all reflect the state of the society. Now, in the 20th century, literature became the platform. Literature became the foundation for to understand all the humanities. Literature came to reflect politics. Literature came to reflect economics. Literature came to reflect aesthetics. Obviously, it already reflected aesthetics. Then sciences also. Literature can be about medicine. Literature can be about biology or zoology or physics or chemistry. Everything is there because there are authors who have written like that, deliberate in the 20th century, deliberately bringing in all these ideas to create a sense, a holistic sense of this world. There is a play written by the man called Tom Stoppard, for example, which talks about quantum mechanics and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle and things like that. Literature is not just romantic stories about nature or something like that. No, not necessarily. There is literature about the refugees. There is literature about the disabled people. There is literature about the people who undergo various kinds of trauma, literature about the LGBTQ community, literature that speaks out against oppression and discrimination, right? So literature becomes an arena, a platform for all kinds of humanities, okay? Then if literature is like that, connecting with all kinds of humanities, then why are people saying if you study literature, maybe you will not get a lot of jobs. Instead, you have to go for engineering or medicine. There are people who say that. Professional courses are better. Literature is difficult to get a job. Why do people say that? Because maybe they don't understand literature in the right sense. When you study literature, don't just look for plot. Don't just look for the beauty of it, the entertainment aspect of it. You should look for the deeper issues. We should understand literature like that, understand the deeper issues. Because today, literature departments have broken free from its shackles, from its boundaries. Today, literature departments have become cultural studies departments. Today, we talk about social sciences in all literature departments, right? Literary theory is now about sociology, geography, philosophy, so many things, economics, everything in the world, including the sciences. There are research projects going on connecting literature and sciences. Okay, there are in IITs and IIST, another institute, NIT, in such universities, lots of projects are happening where they study literature vis-a-vis or in juxtaposition with sciences. There is also the opening up of digital humanities, where you use technology to study and process knowledge in humanities. Right. So then you will think, then let me study technology. Literature can be learned in any case. Technology is difficult. No, you are wrong. Everything is difficult in a sense, because everything has a very profound level. When you are not a student of literature, you can only understand the story. You will not think very much beyond that. That in literature, we have very sophisticated tools of analyzing text, of understanding text. There are lots of people who learn a lot more about the world only because they are students of literature. Technology can also be mastered. Today, these are ages when we should have hybrid careers. If you are studying literature, even then, you should have knowledge of technology, you should have knowledge of other things, right? Because the world has changed. Before, maybe 25, 30 years ago, pure subjects were possible. You know only one subject, you go only in that direction. Okay, you have a career for the rest of your life. But today, things are not like that. Today, things have changed. Everybody needs many knowledges. That is why the government in the FYUGP project, or the program, the 4-year undergraduate degree program, what are they doing? They are making us study many subjects at the same time. Because studying just one subject is not enough. We have to study many subjects. So if you study literature, it is imperative, it is for sure that you should know other subjects also. Right. You should study for sure other subjects also. Just studying novels, poetry is not enough. So in any case, you have to study different subjects. Now, I would say that when you are younger, you should study the humanities. You should study, I would say, and many people would say this, we should have a thorough grounding in the humanities, where we understand relationships, we understand people, we understand culture, we understand the meaning of things, in a very deep sense, so that you will have depth, you will have the right perspective. Technology is the tool, for anything for that matter. Do you study the tool, the form, or the content first? Suppose I am making sambar or some 5-star thing of hospitality industry. Okay, take the people who are studying cooking for the 5-star hotels. Will they make the dish? Is that what is important? Or is the presentation of the dish, knowledge of the tools, is that what is more important? You have to first make the dish. You have to be a cook. Only then you can start using tools and present it in another way, use it in a different way, isn't it? So the proper foundation for any knowledge, I would say, is humanities. Humanities, because it gives you a deep understanding about what is life, what is society, what are relationships, and it gives you the right perspectives. And when you are mature after studying humanities, when you study technology, when you study other things, the world is developing exponentially. So much is happening all the time. Right. So when you become like 20 years old, you have 21 years old, you have already finished your undergraduate program in humanities, you have a deep understanding of society. At that time, whatever tools you are studying now will not be the tools. At that time, things would have changed, isn't it? So at that time, study what are the newest tools. Use them. Using your knowledge in the humanities, use these tools to contribute to the society, to do things. I would say that is a wonderful concept of a career. Because without the humanities, a doctor will not be a good doctor. A doctor will not know that medicine is not everything. You need also some care. Sometimes you need a good lifestyle. Sometimes you just need somebody to listen to. Every person who has depression does not need medicine. Every person who has headache also does not need medicine or a correction. Diseases are not only physical. We understand all that. It comes from relationships. It comes from wrong perspectives. It comes from a troubled mind, isn't it? So all that we understand because we know psychology, literature, humanities. A doctor without humanities will not be a good doctor. An engineer without humanities will not be a good engineer. He may be able to build a building, but he will not be able to make that home where we can live in, that house where we can make a home. Don't you think architecture has changed? The sciences have changed over time. In the beginning, they only looked at the building, the bricks, but now they look at the space. They have changed. It has become softer. It has become more like humanities. So there is no doubt about it. We have to study literature. Literature will give us jobs if we study literature in the right perspective, with the right connections, understanding also other subjects along with literature. If we study, literature will make you complete human beings. And when you study like that, you will have confidence, you will have language skills, obviously, all that should develop. You will be able to take up many, many, many jobs. These days, after the NEP 2020, Akshita, Laya, did you know that National Education Policy 2020 has come? After NEP 2020 has come, the traditional kind of career has ended. We don't have that kind of an old kind of career anymore. What do I mean by that? You somehow pass an exam, you somehow get a lot of marks, you somehow get a degree, and you automatically get a job. And that job is always obvious. After you study English literature, you become a teacher, nothing else. Not like that anymore. Our creativity, our initiative, our agency in being able to understand what is good for us, in being able to judge how I can use my knowledge to mold a career, those things are going to come in very handy. Those approaches are now coming in because of NEP. Right? NEP wants you to make choices. They don't want to force feed you and make you fall into any career that comes your way. You have to choose. It is difficult. You need guidance for that. It is not easy, but it is possible. So from the beginning, you are right now at the right time and the right place. When you are preparing for an entrance to the undergraduate program, that is where your higher education is really beginning. At that time, you have to identify, okay, this is how my future is going to be. I will go in this direction. You should take a decision to study in these ways, right time. And as you go along, you might have to change your direction a little bit, but you go like that and mold your career. Even now, you should have an idea, where will I be 5 years from now? Where will I be 3 years from now? Anybody who starts a business, for example, needs that insight, isn't it? The business is a project. Like that, your career is a project. Before you start the career or the plan, before a surgeon starts surgery, he should have an idea. What am I going to do? After the surgery, what will the patient be like? Without that plan, will a surgery be successful? No. So like that, a career is a big, big, big thing involving years. It is the most important thing in your life. We should have a plan for it. So you can think, okay, I like these subjects. I'm interested in these areas. Let me have that plan. Like that, you should think. I know it is not easy. It is not easy because we are all confused. We don't know whether this is right or wrong. In literature, the solutions lie. Because there is Robert Frost. You must all have heard about Robert Frost. What did Robert Frost say? 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. You must have heard this. The road not taken. So there are 2 roads. Which one will I take? If I take this one, I will not be able to come back and take this one later. This is gone forever most of the time. You will have to go along that road and reach wherever it takes you. I'm telling you, a career is like that. Once you take a road, you go along that road, take the right kind of guidance, get the right kind of learning, and you reach a beautiful place that heaven call your career. You don't have to worry about this road because you can't take different roads at the same time. Every road is great. Every career is great. Whatever you study, whether it is cooking or English literature or engineering or space travel or whatever you study, you can have a great career in it, because a career is not only the highway. The career is your journey. The career is how you do it. When you excel in it, when you get the most out of it, when you contribute meaningfully to it, that is what is called career. Even if you have a great road, if you refuse to travel, if your car breaks down, will it be a great career? No. The direction is the highway. English literature is the highway. Along that highway, you can go and you can do great things if you want. It is true for any career, right? So with this mindset, you should learn English literature. I'm talking about the English literature domain of CUET PG course. The exam will come up in a month. And in the CUET PG course, you will have the language part, you will have the general aptitude part, you will have the domain part. That is what we understand. They have not clearly stated the domain part, but anyway, you need the domain because this is a course for people who are taking English domain. So language part, once again, gives you the skill to understand, to communicate, to comprehend, isn't it? To express, to write. Without that, there is no education. And the GK part is testing your knowledge in critical ability, reasoning, whether you know current affairs. That is another part, of your education. Without all that also, you cannot have education. And the third part is your core subject with which you are doing the main thing. If you take the example of cooking, suppose I am making some methi paratha. Okay, the base, or like pizza. Let us make pizza. We all like pizza. The base, the crust, that is English literature. All the vegetables you put and the decorations you do, that is the other things that you do. It is language, it is, I know that the example might be a little dangerous because the crust is unhealthy, the other things are healthy, but that is not what I mean. So, you in order to fill your belly, you need the crust, right? Otherwise, you'll be hungry. So, these other ingredients are also needed. That is what makes it complete. But the base is English literature. If you have a base in English literature, do not just focus on poems and stories and think that is all about literature. Not at all. Literature is all about history. It is about philosophy. It is about politics. It is about economics. It is about all the things that are happening around us, including science. With that perspective, you should understand literature. And then literature gives you a perspective. It makes you broad-minded. It makes you understand people. It makes you inclusive. It makes you wise, not only knowledgeable, but wise. Without that wisdom that literature gives you, that humanities gives you, you will not be a good doctor or engineer or professional. That is very essential. And if you just read a lot of novels, you cannot pick up this core of literature. We also in literary departments have sophisticated tools to analyze culture and society. Whatever you become after you study literature, I don't know what you will become. One thing I'm sure, if you study literature in the right way, you will become a beautiful human being, a great human being. Without that, what is the use of a career? What is the use of becoming a doctor or engineer or whatever, or a computer expert? That great human being that you are is the base. On that, you should build, because technology and other things that you learn along with literature are the weapons. Otherwise, you are bare. You are vulnerable. You need these weapons. And that is how the world is progressing. That is how UGC and NTA, National Testing Agency, government, NEP 2020, that it is in that direction they are going. So you are in the right place at the right time. The exam If it has a domain paper, will include NCERT syllabus. You need to understand about literature and its evolution, major authors and classics and major works, because you are competing with students who know that. There are lots of +2 students who know literature deeply. I have taught some of them. There are people from +2 who know about Chaucer and Shakespeare. Chaucer was the father of English literature, okay? With Chaucer began everything. He was from the medieval period, late medieval period, very old period. Before what I said, Renaissance is rebirth. Before that, medieval period. Right. After medieval period, there is Renaissance, when human spirit is reborn. Human beings are proud of themselves. They are proud of their beauty, their values. They are, studying and expressing themselves in beautiful ways. That is the Renaissance. After that, in the 17th century came the period of rationalism. There in philosophy, rationalism. This is also the period of the Civil War in England. But England is not all. We have so many countries that we study in English literature. English literature is like world literature. We study the literature of India also. We study vernacular literatures also in English literature. Vernacular means spoken literature. Regional literatures of India also we study in English literature. Now, after the 18th century came the period of reason, the period of prose and reason. This is called the neoclassical period in the 18th century. This is the time when upper class people are very powerful. Colonialism is at its height. Okay, 18th century. At the end of the 18th century, things changed. And what is called romanticism came into being. Don't worry, okay? I'm just giving you the story. I'm not even teaching you. Don't worry, oh my God, she's saying too many things I did not understand. Nothing like that. This is just a story I'm telling you to help you understand that all these things are there. All this we will teach you separately. No problem. This is only the first day. What do we say? Rome was not built in a day. Was it? No. So 18th century, then 19th century is the time of romanticism. Romanticism does not mean romance, as we say, love. Not that. Romanticism means talking about beauty, talking about nature, talking about subjectivity, emotions. All that is romanticism. And then after romanticism came the industrial revolution. Industries started. There are so many socio-political reasons for all this. Why all these things happened, I will tell you, okay? These stories I will tell you one day in detail. But in industrial revolution happened. And when industrial revolution happened, middle class came into being. Capitalism is on its rise, right? And this led to modernism. What is called modernism? Modernism is a reaction to all these developments. It is a reaction against industrialization and technology. It is a reaction against the First World War. When did the First World War happen? I'm sure you know it. 1914 to 18. And then modernism is about the fragmentation of this world, the meaninglessness of this world. Modernism tried to make sense of this world, tried to make a unity out of this world. Right. And then came the Second World War. First World War was when people were shooting each other like this with their guns. Second World War is when aerial bombing was there. Aeroplanes are just dropping bombs everywhere. So many countries, so many villages, towns, cities got devastated. All the cities, towns that got bombed, contained innocent people. They did not do anything. Second World War was a disaster. It ended with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by America. And that was a turning point for the world. Even for countries that did not directly take part in the war, the repercussions were tremendous. And all this reflected in literature and all the subjects that we have to study. And then the world changed. They learned their lessons from all these traumas. People began to fight for freedom. They began to fight for equality. They began to fight for reform. There were many reform movements, revolutionary movements, rebellious movements. And all this resulted in literature. Literature also changed accordingly. So many varieties of expression, forms, and genres emerged. So many writers began to write. At that time, what came? Internet came. Computers came, internet came, globalization came. All these had positive as well as negative effects. The positive effect is that people began to get empowered. They began to be able to express. Nowadays, all of us who write poetry can publish it online. We can publish ebooks, isn't it? We don't have to wait for a publisher to give us acceptance. So it made the world so much more democratic and inclusive. The world is so beautiful because of all this. But there were other sides also. Literature is also about the other side. There is the digital divide. The the internet is not neutral. Everything is not, in an equal way represented on the internet. Everybody does not have access to the internet. Internet is used as a tool to silence people. All that is there. That also we should talk about in literature classrooms. And in literature, we study all this. So what do you expect in a literature UG course? You expect to study this history of literature. You expect to study the classics and the great writers. You expect to study literary criticism and theory. I mentioned it. Ways of understanding the text. You also will study some of sociology, some history, some philosophy. Without philosophy, there is no literary theory. So that also you will study. Some people will study economics. Some people will study a little bit of technology also. And all this together should make you a complete human being. Do not study just for the sake of the exam. A course, an undergraduate course, or any course for that matter, is not just to get marks. It is giving you the knowledge and skills required to be a professional, right? This is the biggest stepping stone of your career. UG course is the biggest stepping stone of your career. You should do it properly, studying in the right way, laying the foundation right, like you lay the foundation of a house. And then on that, with just the foundation, we will not live, right? UG course is only the foundation. After that, you should start specialization. You should start building on top of this, and you should learn to use tools. You should learn to use technology. All that should come with it. Do not ever think, I am a literature student. I don't like maths. I don't like physics or science. I don't like technology. Don't think like that. A literature student is a comprehensive student of the world, of humanity itself, right? Today, not only humanity, we talk about the impact of the human being on nature. We talk a lot about nature. Environmental literature is a very important part of literature today. Nature, we talk about Anthropocene, the impact of science and technology on the universe. As human beings, it is our responsibility to study all that. That also we'll study in literature departments. And when we study, we will also be required to have our own projects. You will do a project at the end. You will be, taking a topic. You will be writing about that topic. It will be printed as a dissertation, or you will have an e-copy of the dissertation. You will have to submit it. You will have a supervisor. This is a miniature PhD program. So there are people who think, what is a PhD for? It has no use. No, not exactly. Well, if you have a PhD, there are advantages as well as disadvantages. For me, let me say, my PhD was on children's films and how children are depicted in Canadian children's films. Okay. The institution of PhD did not really help me. I did not gain many tangible things because of PhD. I did not want to also. Without PhD also, it was a lot of trauma. PhD is always trauma because we have to follow so many things, study. It's so difficult. But if you ask me, was your PhD an entire waste? I will say not at all. Because you are doing for the first time a project on your own. You learn so many things from it. You learn to take initiative. You learn to order and structure knowledge. You learn to collect information. You learn to put it in the right way. You learn to argue and talk about it. You learn to defend your project. Wow, it was such an amazing experience. So have that attitude to everything. No learning is complete in itself. It is not just the end of the world. No, you have to again go on from there, go on from there. Don't think even after MA or PhD, that is the end of your learning. Learning is lifelong. We should have that attitude. But do not think that learning is easy. Do not also think that learning will take you somewhere just because you passed an exam. The exam doesn't really matter. Exam does matter, but the exam is not all that matters. It is what you get here, how you develop yourself, how you think, how you express. That is what matters, right? So education should be a constant self-development. You should be growing, learning like a banyan tree. When we start, we are like a small sapling. That sapling, nobody should laugh at. You are such a small sapling. You don't have any strength. You are nobody. Nobody should laugh at it, because it is that sapling with the right nutrition that grows into the banyan tree, isn't it? Eventually, lots of life will depend on you, because you are a professional contributing to this society. Teacher is not the only job for you. You can do many jobs. You will become equipped for many jobs if you take learning the right way, right? A lot of learning today is not happening the right way, but if you take learning the right way, it will give you a great career. And literature is the right foundation for this great career. I have been talking, without a break for 1 hour. I will stop the live stream on YouTube now, and I will come to my